and I quote, "I'll be there in a minute. Give me a second."
Time is relative, folks. Time is relative.
Yes. So, hey, cheers to everybody in the chat.
They're a division rival. I don't care how many wins they get. Screw them.
That wasn't the take I was expecting to hear.
I want to gush over watching live Chris Tanev.
I think that we completely underestimate the skill it takes to play defense.
One highlight or several highlights does not a Calder trophy make.
I'm stepping in here. I'm going to be the crotchety old man here. They need to learn patience. They need to understand the tension, and everything, and the drama.
How dare! Look at this. How is McDavid not getting a penalty?
You guys need to calm down with this, okay? You guys need to calm down with it.
Welcome back to the Ships and Pucks podcast. We're now 2 games into the Canucks preseason, and Canucks fans are not calm, but that's just normal for them. That's right. It's me again. It's Sean, joined by Chris as well. And for the first time this season, the man who has the ability to grow hair and a beard, Tyler is back. How's it going, Tyler? Oh, and he's on mute.
Oh, I butchered it. That's a double clutch. I thought I double clutched it. I had it off earlier, turned it on. Damn it.
Preseason rust.
Yes. It's the preseason for the podcasters too. Thank you for the warm welcome back. I heard when I was away that you guys were commenting on the hair again, so I see that obsession hasn't gone away during the off season. But it's great to see you guys. It'll be great to see Kevin and perhaps Devin sometime whenever that occasion may work out as well. It's starting to feel a little bit really like hockey season finally. I know last night wasn't televised, a little hard to find the stream, but Tuesday's game was on TV, and hearing Shorty again, and a new goal horn, or not a new goal horn, a new end of period horn.
Although I've read that it's temporary and that the regular one is coming back.
Okay, so just the familiar, just the Sportsnet 2 and all those familiar things coming back. It's really getting those juices going for hockey season.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah.
And how are you doing there, Chris?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm working locally this week, so to actually be in my own apartment regularly is a nice and welcome change.
Yes. All right, so 2 games into the preseason. Game 1 was versus Seattle, and Tyler Myers was doing his best impersonation of Perseus from Greek mythology and trying to take on the Kraken. Just diving headfirst into the season. The chaos giraffe that he is.
It is amusing how the only team and the only fan base that really has any issue with that guy are Seattle Kraken fans, eh?
But hey, if nothing else is going to kickstart that rivalry.
It is a kind of a unique thing, though. So anytime those two teams get together, he's going to be a focal point, whether he likes it or not.
Yeah, it was fantastic because that was just a little bit like it's preseason and freaking Will Borgen is already going after Garland, who let's be honest, he was probably chirping.
Garland does get under people's skin. He is that pest sort of character. So he probably deserved to some degree, but it was a shove after the whistle. That was a little on the egregious side, and
sometimes it's just a guy's face too, right? It's just like a punchable face. They might not even be giving any specific expression or saying even anything, and yet it's just like, God, I just can't stand that guy. And I think that applies with Garland.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a few players who have that. Back in the day with the Canucks, Max Lapierre definitely had a punchable face. We all know that Brad Marchand's got a punchable face. So
yep. They are fairly common throughout the league. Each team probably has one.
At least one. So, But yeah, we'll get into a little bit more of the play of some of the players within the 2 games. Canucks won both games, so much better start to the preseason than they had last year, which really didn't mean much after when they go gangbusters against the Oilers. Hopefully, they can do that again this year, starting against the Flames this year, though. But the big news out of today would be that Guillaume Brisebois and Jet Wu were waived to go down to the AHL. No real surprises there. I think the big one is like if Brisebois is getting waived, that I think that just means he's going to be healthy enough to play hockey this year, which is good.
Yeah, hopefully they both clear and both make it down to Abbey and have a decent season in Abbey.
Brisebois, boy, he's been with the organization now for a while. If I recall correctly, he was a draft pick that resulted from trading Eddie Lack. Do I have that right? Like he goes way back now.
I mean, as far as how long he's been with the organization, that sounds about correct timeline-wise. Just I don't remember the individual transaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how, but yeah, he was drafted. Let's see here. He was drafted 3rd round, 66th overall in the 2015 draft. So,
which, yeah, that tracks because I remember moving to Calgary and at the start of 2015 and seeing a Brisebois drive and being like, "Hey, we drafted a player by that name."
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, well, no surprise that he would be waived to get him to down to the AHL, but he's had a few opportunities, but clearly not going to break through as a star player. But I just wanted to note that there's been a lot of other players the Canucks have given up on or traded low on or whatever, and there he is still.
Yes, and good call on the it was from the 3rd round pick they received in the Eddie Lack trade.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think at this point
there's been so much roster turnover going back to that time, and there he is still.
Yeah, at this point you got to say he's probably a career AHLer.
Yeah. But and then after 2 games, couple of the younger players have started to stocking a spot or trying to get in there. Jonathan Lekkerimaki, as I've now been told to say it by by the media. There's no Lekkerimaki, it's Lekkerimaki. Lekkerimaki. And
has Rick Dollywell gotten this figured out?
I don't know.
We love you, Rick.
He's still probably trying to figure out how to pronounce Thatcher Demko's muscle injury.
Okay.
I believe
I'm not going to try.
No,
I will completely butcher it. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure he tweeted that he's not even going to attempt it.
He's like, no,
no, not doing it. But yeah, Lekkermaki's been. He looked good in Penticton. Chris and I got to see him live for 1 game, and then he was given the plum assignment in camp as well as throughout camp, playing with DeBrusk and Petey. Also got that last night in Abbotsford, but he also played another in the first preseason game as well. But yeah, he's getting the shot with the big boys. What do you think are the chances that he makes the roster out of camp?
Chris?
I mean, I've already kind of touched on it, so I was going to let you go first, Tyler.
Probably not very likely. I mean, with all the other different players that the Canucks have brought in here in the offseason, I think they'd want to give them a shot too, and not be in a position where they're rushing people either, right? But the fact that he was being considered in the playoffs last year, at least to some extent, when they were running low on players against Edmonton, you'd think we're going to see him at some point.
Yeah, like I think he's definitely shown fairly well in between both young stars and the training camp so far, and like ultimately, I think he'll probably get a couple of games in out of at the start of the regular season, but it's not going to be too long before he gets sent down to Abbey. And as Sean has mentioned, that he's likely going to be on that loaded top line with Ratu and Baines in Abbotsford. So it seems like that he's more destined for that than to stay with the big club all season.
Yeah, I expect him to start the season in the AHL. But what I want to see from him is make that decision hard. And so far, I think he has. I don't think what Tocchet said today is he wants to see someone grab that position, grab that right wing spot. I think we saw that Kiefer Sherwood was practicing with DeBrusk and Petey today in practice. We're definitely going to see Daniel Sprong in that spot at some point as well. And Lekkerimaki hasn't grabbed that spot, but I don't think he hasn't discounted himself from that spot either. I know Kevin, if he was on, would be preaching patience, preaching that they send him down to the AHL. Every player is different because Kevin would bring up Pod Colson as a player who was up there too early. I'd say Höglander as well was put into a position way too early in his career as well. But again, every player is different. But with the options that Canucks have on the wing, I would not be surprised if they just play they don't rush him at all.
And that's kind of where I'm at with it, and what I'm hoping to see too. It just they cannot afford to. I hate to use the word damage, but you just can't afford to mess up a player's development, especially a guy of this caliber. With such short-term goals in mind. I know. They want to build off of last year and make the playoffs, but you got to think bigger picture with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, the list of players who have had their careers hampered by staying too long in the AHL is a lot shorter than the list of players who were rushed into the NHL earlier on than they were ready for. So I know we were discussing it a little bit over the last two games, but I just want to see him make it a tough decision. And if he is ready, give him a shot. I don't think they should be afraid of giving him a couple games at least to start the season, but don't force the issue. And if he starts if the rest of the players in the league start catching up and passing him, don't force the issue and be willing to send him down and spend the majority of the season in the AHL. The other way of looking at it is I've heard this comparison a lot and it's comparing him to the way Dallas handled both Stankoven last year, where he could potentially be a more of a trade deadline quote unquote acquisition or addition to the team if he spends the majority of the season in the AHL and then comes up and is a good addition for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think him starting with the big club at the start of the season is more a reward for all the hard work and effort he's put in the past couple of months, as opposed to any sort of expectation on where he's going to be the rest of the season.
Yeah. And even then, I think I wouldn't be surprised if they just send him he's one of the last cuts, but he starts the season in Abbotsford. There's nothing wrong with it. He hasn't played a full season in North America yet. Not majority of players who come over from Europe don't make the jump directly from there to the NHL, so it's not a big deal. And yeah, they wanted him to be a star, not just a player. So they need to develop him. Development is more important than the short-term goals.
Yeah, because realistically, as long as Sprong can basically play Tocchet's systems, it's most likely that it's going to be Heinen and Sprong in those top two winger top 6 winger roles that are vacant right now.
I'm not sold on Sprong being the other one right away. I think, like I said, we're seeing Sherwood in that spot there, and DeBrusk is a skilled enough player that he can be the trigger man or the wingman for Petey, and then as that duo, and then you can have sort of more of a grinded out sort of like third piece, similar to Heinen,
as he showed in the OT winner goal last night.
Oh, that was Sprong last night, or it's
No, I'm talking about the winner, not the tie.
Yeah,
tie.
you're right. Sprong was the tying goal, but yeah, DeBrusk, yeah. So like, if you that's there's, I think I wouldn't be surprised if it is still a bit of a rotating cast on that third spot on the PD and DeBrusk line. And even with Miller and Besser, I know Heinen's been given that for the most part, and we haven't really seen that full line in a game just yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if that is still a bit of a rotating cast until someone absolutely grabs one of those spots.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Chris, you mentioned earlier on that Lekkerimiki's probably is going to start the season in the AHL, and that top line in Abbotsford could potentially be Baines, Ratu, and Lekkerimaki. But Ratu's played really good, and you're starting to see Tocchet praise him, and he's winning faceoffs. He's playing a physical, heavy game. Everything that Tocchet's going to want in a bottom 6 player, and he's playing center. I actually think Aatu Ratu's chances at making the team might actually be higher than Lekkerimiki's at this point.
Interesting, yeah. Like I don't really have any preconceived notions about his long-term viability with the big club, but I definitely have been impressed with his preseason and training camp.
Well, and you'd hope that the actual play on the ice and performance in camp and all those things are going to factor in heavier with the coaching staff than perhaps status or name recognition. Like, it does seem like Lekkerimiki's a kind of a bigger name in the Canucks prospect ranks right now. But then Ratu was part of the trade with the Islanders and Bo Horvat, right? So like, I'm sure they want to get something. They want that draft pick to look good, or they want that prospect to look good as a result of that trade, right? So, yeah, it's going to be a good battle, I guess. And also, it should be noted that Rick Talk has talked about it too. Once they start going through all of the young stars, and then the main training camp, and now they play back-to-back nights, and they got a couple more coming up here against Seattle and the Flames. Like, this workload at an NHL level is, are they going to kind of run out of steam towards the end of the preseason? These are all things that they could make a difference for those guys in terms of whether they make it or not.
Yeah. And the thing with Ratu is that I don't see him being a 13th forward on this team. If he's making the team at a camp, that means he's won the fourth line center role, I think, because he still can go down to the AHL without waivers, and his development is probably still better off playing top line minutes down there than sitting in the press box. So he has to outright win a top 12 spot on this team to make it. And that's not a knock on him. That's just the best thing for his development. But the way he's playing and his development looks like he could be a top call-up option depending on injuries and who goes down and all that, because Bluger's injured right now, and there's an opportunity there for him to show what he can do while Bluger still hasn't played a game yet. Tocchet did say that he sees Suter as a center, so when you've got Miller, Petey, Bluger and Suter down the middle, that doesn't open up a lot, but Suter can switch to the wing if they feel like Ratu is a better option there. But you say it's still a tough go for both those young kids.
Yeah.
But they're putting their best foot forwards, and those two definitely have a shot at, if not making the team out of camp, but they'll definitely play NHL games this season.
No, I think so for sure. Yeah, once I mean, inevitably the depth pool is going to need to be called upon with injury replacements. I just gotta pause you guys for 1 second here. For some reason, I guess it was a bit of a bad omen when I hit the mute button, but my screen is completely frozen, and I can hear you guys, but I can't see or do anything. So I'm going to try to quickly restart and rejoin the conversation here. That's
all right,
sounds all good.
Good start.
I know. All right, back in a bit.
All right.
I mean, Sean and I had our preseason rust over the past 2 episodes. This is Tyler's turn to catch up.
Yes.
Okay, but we will move on to the prospects that haven't really been aren't necessarily going to be on the team to start the season. And one of them is DPD, EPD. The other, Elias Pettersson, not Elias Pettersson.
The one who's more okay with his name being anglicized.
Definitely. Yes. He definitely looks like he's having he's coming from the Allsvenskan League in Sweden last year, jumping all the way to the North American League, and removed Frozen Tyler there. It's a big jump, and he still looks like he needs some time, but there's nothing wrong with that. And he's when he does, I think there is a player there. I think there's someone who's willing to be physical, willing to have willing to be the defensive defenseman. So he got a lot of play with Hronek in training camp, and as well as in the first preseason game. But he definitely still needs work, and I think they'll keep him up as long as they can in preseason here. But he'll be destined for the AHL, and he could maybe later on in the season be a call-up option. But I still think the best thing for him is just to play the whole season down in the AHL and learn the North American game a little bit more.
Yeah, just like Lekkerimaki. I'm still going to have to get used to saying it that way. Both of them are going to be better suited to just kind of develop in the AHL this season. As much as the Canucks fan base might be excited as to the promise that they're showing over this summer and this lead up to the regular season, ultimately it's better for their long-term development and probably overall NHL career that they play in Abbotsford this season.
Yeah, so I think it is the best for him to be in the AHL. But I love the way he plays. He's a smart, heavy defenseman. I know, I think it was Rutherford says he just got a little bit of Ulf Samuelsson in him. And if he's half the physical, dirty player that Ulf Samuelsson was, but back in the 90s. If he's a new age version of that, as long as he's not taking too many penalties and getting suspended, I'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be so good. Maybe that'll be my next jersey, is an E Pettersson jersey, not a Pettersson jersey.
Although he was doing that in training camp, and I guess preseason now, but I wonder if he ends up making an NHL roster spot for himself if that name bar or number changes from what it currently is.
What is he, 20 something?
26.
26. The number I don't know, but I think the name bar, as long as he's in the Vancouver system, he'll probably keep the E on there just to distinguish himself from the other Pettersson
for the batches of the world.
Yes. And then the other guy that I think deserves a lot of talk and credit is Vilmer Ulriksson. We talked about him last time. He got into a good fight in the Seattle game, and there's a lot of talk about how Ulriksson's taken all the notes that he was given last year by the management and worked on everything, and they're very impressed with him, and they're giving him preseason games pretty much as a nice reward for him. He's going to go back down to the OHL in Guelph, but he's definitely improved a lot over last season.
Mm-hmm. And I'm excited for what his NHL career could have down the line in the future if he keeps on having that sort of power forward who's willing to fight sort of stereotype moving forward.
Yeah. Tyler, have you been able to watch much of or notice much of Vilmer Ulriksson in the brief preseason we've gotten so far?
I think we might still have Frozen Tyler.
Frozen Tyler is back. But I mean, yeah, I'd say and then the other defenseman that I hope we get to see tomorrow, or maybe in both games. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that to him. Just is Kudryavtsev.
Yeah, he's actually been an impressive. I've been really impressed with how much I've noticed him over the past several weeks.
Yeah, he's on the left side with Tyler Myers in practice today. Look, Tyler's moving this time. Maybe we have him.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. So let's rewind a quick bit here.
Tornado of chaos there.
Not a chaos giraffe, a chaos tornado.
Yeah.
But going back, we talked about DPD's play and his development and where he's at. What are your thoughts on him so far?
No real strong opinions on him to this point. I'm always worried about the Canucks' depth, so I'm hoping for the best, specifically in regards to defense. So I'm certainly hoping for the best with him, but it's hard to really stand out as a defenseman in a little bit of limited preseason play, right? So I don't know. I think he's still probably going to be a bit of a project. I don't mean that in an insulting way, but it takes a little longer with defensemen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I said, he was coming from the Allsvenskan League in Sweden last year.
Yeah.
Jumping from there to the AHLs or the NHLs a big jump. So I think he'll a full season down in the A is going to do wonders for him. And I think if everything goes right, he might be an option going into the stretch run as a depth option. But that's just if everything goes right. Yeah,
and this kind of goes back to the point too of the broader organization and ownership and how much they've invested in not only owning the farm team but having it in Abbotsford and the resources they're pouring into that. Use it, use that, right? To use your development system to develop, but don't rush these guys. Yeah.
And then the other big guy, the 6'7" Vilmer Ulriksson, he's made his mark in whether it's Penticton or training camp and now preseason. He's a young kid, still going to go back down to Guelph in the OHL this season, but he's basically a sponge. It sounds like they told him a bunch of things to work on in over last season, and he's came into camp and has worked on all of them. So it's exciting to see him because he's like a 6'7" behemoth that I want to see succeed.
Yeah.
And then just as you were coming back here, we were talking about Kudryavtsev, he just turned old enough to be in the AHL this year after playing in the OHL last year. And watching him in Penticton, I was very impressed with his lateral movement and his mobility. And at practice today, he was with Tyler Myers. So a left shot with Tyler Myers on the right side. I don't think he's another guy just like DPD. I think is going to be a season in the AHL is going to do wonders for his development. But he could be a nice later round draft pick that the Canucks have found.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and speaking of the blue line.
Yeah, so now I this is Sean's favorite part of the show, everybody, where he gets to slot in lineup. He's got his rows and columns. It's a fun exercise, though. I just want
what
to mention that.
do we think the blue line looks like to start the season? We haven't seen Hronek and Hughes together just yet, but do you think that's where they end up, or do you think they find a way to split them up?
I would think that they're going to maybe want to give a good amount of experimentation to the idea of having them on a different pair, but against stronger opponents, don't they kind of have to have them together? But then what's the trickle-down effect?
Yeah, I think you could. It's figuring out who would be paired with Hughes, because I think you definitely have Hronek and Soucy together. It's who's the pairing with Hughes. That is
that's the real X factor that they really need to kind of figure out on if it's going to be successful with them split up. That is kind of the key factor of if it's going to be successful.
Yeah.
They've tried Juleson there for most of the training camp and preseason. Last night you saw why he's more of a seventh defenseman. He can get lost out there, puck watching, be a little too aggressive on like looking for hits and all that. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if we see them try Desharnais there.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because and Desharnais could also be a very similar to Juleson if he can just be more of a steady defenseman who can just be a beast down low in the defensive end, and just make the safe play to Hughes. I think that could work. You can always go back to Hughes and Hronek
in the past. Like that was more of a Travis Green era thing, but
yeah,
he'd often put that typical stay-at-home veteran defenseman with Hughes and just make those safe plays and provide support for Hughes doing Hughes things. He'll go all over the ice, but you need a stay-at-home D-man to really allow that to happen.
Yeah, I do wonder if they talked about defense by committee last year. I do think that you might see that again this year. You can always put Hughes and Hronek together if you're trailing or if you're looking to push a little bit here or there. But I do see them experimenting as much as they can because they know Hughes and Hronek work together, so they don't even have to play them together really that much in preseason. I don't think. I think they can spend most of the preseason trying to see if Desharnais can work there with Hughes. See if a Soucy and a Hronek pair can work. So it's even then, even if it is Hughes and Hronek, I know they had Soucy and Myers as a pair last year. I do wonder if they try because they had Soucy and Desharnais paired together for most of the camp. I do wonder if they give that a long look as well.
Yeah, and then potentially have like a Forbort and I guess that would make it Myers for the
Forbort and Myers. Yeah, I don't mind that if you're gonna load up your top pair. I don't mind having Soucy and Desharnais as a pair, and then Myers and Forbort as a pair. I think Soucy's puck moving ability is underrated. I don't think people just don't think about him as that way. He got a lot of power play 2 time last year.
I just hope he's able to stay healthier than he was last year.
Yes, that's key there. But I do think that's I don't mind Soucy as being sort of the more offensive defenseman on the second pair, if that's the way, if they load up with Hronek and Hughes on the top one. And then you have, if you go Myers and Forbort, that allows Myers to be a little bit more offensive. But I do think at this point in his career, Myers is probably better suited to being a little bit more stay at home and be a little bit more like he was a little bit mean in the playoffs, and I want to see more of that from him. Like, just pretend that he's playing against Seattle all the time. Like,
That might be another notable clip from this show. Yeah.
but
Yeah, the less running around he does, the better. I think that's yeah.
Yeah, I think we've found his kind of later stage comfort zone.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And then you got the sort of the forgotten one of the top of it, that and Derek Forbort, who I think just going to be all we want from him is just to be a solid number 6 defenseman who can penalty kill.
Yeah.
Be physical, be sort of just Ian Cole light, I think is what you want.
Mm-hmm.
With maybe less turnovers in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I wonder
for that Edmonton series.
There's so nightmares about that. That's my goodness.
I felt so bad for him because he played so well for most of the season, and it just everyone soured on him because of just that series.
100%. It's such a helpless feeling, when the pace of play increases and it feels like there's 13 guys on the other team out there. No matter what you do, you're going to fail. And it kind of seemed to get to that point for him. And
it didn't matter what he did. It was the puck was bouncing off him and going into the net, or bouncing off of him and going.
Yeah.
And into the net. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there were times where they had to go to Juleson anyways because of injury or suspension in the case of one game for Susie. And with all due respect to Juleson, it didn't work out very well. So even going to that depth instead of Ian Cole, it's just I know that was unfortunate. This goes back to my concerns about defensive depth, right?
That is still the big concern on this roster. We talked about Raty being another nice center depth option. Max Sasson, someone that is almost forgotten about at this point, but I think he's someone who could be a depth center option as well. And on the wings, they've got a decent amount of wing depth now with the additions of Sprong, Sherwood, DeBrusque, and then you've got Lekkerimaki stepping up. Arshdeep Bains has shown that he can definitely be an option, a depth option as well as Linus Karlsson. But that defensive depth there is the one. Yeah, you've got DPD, but he's still raw. Kadratsev's still raw. Jet Wu hasn't been able to really take that next step and be like, he's already one of the first cuts here. I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that they look at being aggressive on the trade market real soon here, as we saw that Alvin and Rutherford do last year. Was it because they got Lafferty pretty late into the preseason last year with a trade? So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that be the early season move that they make this year.
Yeah.
So, and then the other, speaking of early season moves, with the questionable health of Demko, Archer Seelovs is still young, and you don't want to overplay him. The Canucks brought in a veteran in Kevin Lankinen, signing a 1-year deal, very cheap on the cap, which is really nice. And he's in Vancouver now, and Rick Tocchet announced that he'll play tomorrow, Friday night in Seattle. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go 3 goalies for a lot of this season once Demko is back. A lot to sort of mitigate the workload on Demko in practices more than anything else.
That I would have to say, I to be honest, would be surprised at, just because of tying up a roster spot with a third goalie, but that would be the reason to do it. Yeah, pretty good signing for the Canucks. As it turns out, it's, I guess Lankinen and the Canucks' new goalie coach, Marco Torenius, have a history together working in Finland in past off seasons. So maybe that was big reason why Lankinen chose Vancouver.
And also is willing to take a decent pay cut, because I think I read that he was getting paid $2 million last season.
Yeah.
So he was definitely hoping to get more. But obviously, I don't know if the Canucks were the only people pursuing him, but the fact that he took that big of a cut to come to Vancouver, I think kind of shows that there was another factor there, and obviously that would be in the goalie coach.
Well, I think I saw it today. I don't know how true or valid this was. Is that the Ducks were in on Lankinen, and I think they were offering him a little bit more money, but he went with Vancouver because with the question marks in Demko's health, that he felt that he was going to get more starts in Vancouver than he would in Anaheim, which now hindsight with Gibson being out with an emergency appendectomy, hopefully he gets better quickly, but out for 3 to 6 weeks. He was probably going to good thing that.
Oh, did we get a frozen Sean now?
Oh, I guess so. You still got me though. Uh-oh.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah.
He's back. We're back, baby. We're back. All three of us.
Hey.
Oh, the Gremlins hate the Shifts and
But
podcasts.
Seelov's play in Seattle was definitely Seelov's play in Seattle was definitely what we remembered from the playoffs last year.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he's other than having his sore tendons that he had that kept him out of playing in the Latvian Olympic qualifying tournament.
Yeah.
He's looking good, and despite I think having a Shilov's Lankinen tandem until Demko comes back is going to be a very solid very solid tandem for the Canucks to start the season.
And just in case anyone's wondering, Latvia did, despite not having Shilov's still qualified for the men's Olympic hockey tournament in Italy, along with Denmark and Slovakia. So all's well that ends well in that regard, and great that the Latvian Ice Hockey Federation was prudent with that.
Happy that they were able to pull that off without their superstar goaltender.
Yeah. I mean, for the actual tournament, they're going to need him big time, but they did still pull off the qualifying regardless.
Yeah. All right, and then I think that's really it in terms of just the Canucks specific stuff, at least for right now.
I mean, I just want to pipe in just with a kind of a broader comment about the season. It's going to the whole feel of it's going to be interesting to see to start off with, because last year there was just no expectation, right? And then they made the playoffs and they were a game away from the Western Conference Final. So now there's expectations. How's the team going to respond? If they get off to a poor start. I'm always the optimist. I'm pretty confident that this coaching staff and the leadership group around Quinn Hughes has the wherewithal to stick with it if it's not going well to start with. But you know how panic buttons get pressed quickly in the Canucks fan base and in the media market, that the beginning of the season is going to be very, very interesting. It's exciting, but also I got a little bit of butterflies around that too. They got to get off to a good start or there'll be lots of questions. There's a bit of a target now on the Canucks. They're more of a relevant factor out in the league now.
Vancouver market overreact? Never.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, now that everybody got that taste of the playoffs again, that always is a big factor into how people view the team, right? It's all about the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And then the NHL has had some rule changes or tweaks or however you want to call them. And luckily, we do have the man with the hair and the man who likes to wear stripes to help decipher this for us.
Yeah, I think fans are going to like the rule changes overall. Like Sean said, they're mostly tweaks, but there's the one biggest one, and it's been called for years, and I think finally now there's been enough political will to do it. But there will now be a coach's challenge permitted to negate a penalty for a puck out of play. So it's only when the puck is determined to have deflected off a player's stick, the glass, or the boards, and not a judgment call on how the puck left the defensive zone, whether it was batted or shot out from the defensive zone. So you can't challenge to have a penalty called that wasn't a penalty, but the other way around. So this should eliminate most situations where a team has been unfairly penalized for putting the puck out of play. So that'll be interesting to see. Obviously, there's the side effects of expanding review. We get more stoppages because of review, and some more rulings that are going to leave people scratching their heads. My
Sean's patience will be tested.
Yeah, Sean will be grinding his teeth.
My original thought on this one was, oh crap, more review. That's not good. The more I look at this one, the more I think it's actually going to be good, and we won't see many challenges on this.
Yeah.
For two reasons. One, it's not it has to be clear cut that it was deflected. So we won't see that many. And two, if you're wrong, you're putting your team down on a 5-on-3.
Yes, that was the next part of this too, is that there's an additional penalty. So not only would the one penalty against your team stand, you'd be receiving another one. So yeah, there it is. This is good. This gives them the ability to correct a wrong call, and these can be very punitive calls, obviously. But it shouldn't be subject to too much abuse. But video reviews got to be literal, and just wait for the occasion when the team thinks they've got video that literally shows the wrong call, and then they uphold the call, and then they're down 5-on-3 and maybe lose the game over it. That coach's head is going to explode.
And not only a stuttered 5-on-3, but a full 2 minutes of 5-on-3.
Yeah, I know. So we'll just wait and see how this works in application.
Yeah, you have to be 110% sure that you're going to get the call's going to get overturned to make this challenge.
Yeah.
And I think we all know that the first failed challenge is making the highlight reel on every Sports Center page that you can find.
Well, they'll find a way to zoom in on the coach, and as you said, they'll explode. It'll be very similar to when Travis Green thought he had it. And then they caught on him, and basically you could read his lips saying, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. I mean, it's we've had a few of these in baseball too, where it seems like they'll challenge. It seems like it's pretty clear cut, and then they announce the ruling, and it's just not what you expected, and the manager is flying out of the dugout, and then he's ejected, and then it's chaos. So we'll see how that goes. The rest of it is pretty well. I think it's little stuff, but for good reasons. They're adjusting the no line change rules so that the defensive team cannot make a line change in the event the goalie accidentally dislodges the net that used to be applied to just skaters. So it's kind of trying to close another loophole to get a line change accidentally on purpose after an icing call. Most likely. There's a change to the face-off procedure following an icing where the offensive center would now receive a warning, same as the defensive player for a face-off violation. Just seems more fair that way. They also will penalize the offending team with one warning regarding players sitting on the boards. After one warning, the team precipitating the warning will be issued a bench minor penalty. I mean, it is kind of cheating, I guess, to have half your body over the boards to try and get on the ice early. But there's also obviously sensitivity around skate blades that are off the ice. And, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't want to go this route. If you're going to make a change, you don't get to just sit on the boards and wait for your guy to come off. He gets to the bench, then you go on. That's it. Clear cut.
It's either down to efficiency of the game or for safety, and this is clearly for safety.
Yeah, so I think those are good. The NHL produced a very slick video on it. If you want to find that on their website and listen to that in more detail. But
producer Heidi said it was very boring.
It was slickly produced. The voice, Yeah, it was part of that, I
A
guess.
little monotonous.
I mean, rule minutia is dry. It just is.
It is, yeah.
You have to be a real
And
hockey nerd to actually enjoy it.
Yeah. Feel like I'm back.
And the
in
last one
referee
on
clinic
that
here,
video was replacement goalies are now allowed to have a warm up if the other goalie is, but only, I believe it's only if it's a the other goalie is being removed for medical reasons. Is
Yes.
what
Like an
I
injury
believe
as
is what it
opposed to just like we're getting shellacked and our goalie is not very good. Like that goalie still has to go in fairly cold. But if it's for an emergency medical situation, then give him a minute with a couple of shots or what have you.
Yeah. No, and then again, that's you don't want to have the next goalie coming in and getting hurt, and then you're onto the emergency backup. So, yeah. I mean, it's not that huge a deal. I know there's a delay in the game, but the league's got to protect its main assets, which is the players, right? And you only have two goalies, so let's take the time to make sure that the next one's ready to go.
They don't want Leafs losing to Zamboni drivers anymore.
It's just we've talked about that before here. It's just it's fun in a way, but it just really can't be that way, and especially when there's around the sport.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, once that's all involved.
Yeah.
But you want to be able to make sure that you're doing everything to keep that from happening.
Yeah.
So, and then the big new thing for broadcasts for NHL games in Canada is that Amazon Prime is now will now be broadcasting games on Monday, buying the rights for the Monday night game, national games from Rogers. And they announced their broadcast team, their schedule, and everything over this past week, which includes Mark Messier on the broadcast team. Do you think he does any Vancouver games?
Yeah, I imagine we'll probably see him in some capacity on the 4 Canucks games that will be part of the Amazon Prime package. I was just wondering if you were going to get that in before I had any chance to talk about this, but you did. Yeah, I think fans are going to be impressed with the broadcast. There's the production is going to be led by a producer named Mark Askin, who that's a name that might only the real nerds will probably recognize, but he's had a very distinguished career going back to doing Hockey Night forever, and I think he's done Olympics, and he's very decorated, very experienced producer leading the production side of it. And John Forsland, the voice of the Seattle Kraken, formerly of the Carolina Hurricanes. He's done national work in the U.S., currently with TNT and with NBC and Versus in the past. So you've probably heard his voice. He's really strong. Interesting choice that it's an American voice for a Canadian hockey package, but he is very solid, and I think fans will come to enjoy his work. Andy Petrillo and Adnan Virk, a couple of Canadians hosting the coverage. Andy, you'll be well familiar with her work with CBC Sports. Adnan's been working at ESPN forever, so it'll be cool for him to get back in Canada to a Canadian audience and covering hockey. So, it's going to be a little bit different. I don't know, they're probably, I would imagine, try to take some lessons that they've learned from their Thursday night football package on Amazon Prime and try to get creative a little bit. But if, from what we've seen with that, they haven't tried to reinvent the wheel with broadcasting football. And I hope that they don't do that with this, just a little bit of tweaks and try to leverage what you can do with a streaming platform to try to improve the fan viewing experience. But yes, for the first time, there will be NHL games that are only available on a streaming service in Canada starting this season. And obviously nobody knows how much the deal was worth to Rogers, but the fact that they're selling off a package of games for 2 seasons is it raises some eyebrows in terms of the finances and what that all means to them. Especially since Sportsnet has its own streaming service, Sportsnet Plus, as well. So, interesting announcement. Sorry, Rick Dollywall and others. You will have to get the Amazon Prime subscription for those 4 games.
Yes.
And for the Canucks, I believe I have them up here. The first one is looks like December the 23rd against San Jose. They got January 6th against Montreal, January 27th against the Blues, and then the last one's March 24th against the Devils.
Okay, so I don't have to worry about re-upping my Amazon Prime membership until mid-December.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
But you see, are you going to cancel it? That's where they get everybody. Right? You get the subscription, then you start, clicking around and start liking it, and then you sort of forget the whole, oh yeah, I wanted to save this money when the season's over.
I mean, yeah, like I personally use it. I guess I'm bowing to the altar of Jeff Bezos and all that for delivery and all that. But the Prime,
and that's a fair commentary to make, Sean. I mean, I think like some people might roll their eyes at that. I mean, I think a lot of people feel that way. Yeah,
but the Prime movies and TV shows that you can watch on their streaming service, there's some good ones. So it's not like you're just getting it for 4 games. There's other things that you're going to get with it as well. My thing is that I'll be interested to see how it's handled. Is that if you have the Sportsnet Plus premium package, which I do because I'm here in Calgary and I need that to be able to watch out of market games, specifically all the Canucks games. That's the package that allows you to watch basically any game.
You'd have to probably clarify that with Sportsnet, but this being a national package, I would imagine that you will have to get Amazon Prime for it.
I think that's me the case too. I think they're all against American teams in that. Oh, except there's a Montreal Canadiens, the Habs. Yeah. That's the only one I think that might be an issue because I think if you usually look at it, because you can definitely watch, like using Sportsnet, the Sportsnet Plus premium package, which is essentially in NHL Game Center or NHL Center Ice is whatever the equivalent of what that is for cable or what it used to be through the NHL website to stream games. You can definitely watch. You end up able to watch all the regional ones. Yeah. But I wouldn't why would Amazon sign up to get the streaming package and then have Sportsnet Plus premium members still be able to stream it is my question.
No, if they're going to invest in this, it's to be exclusive. So yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it would only make
that's my guess for sure
to do it that way.
Yeah. So, but we'll see because it's not like the Canucks aren't on there until December, but they're still going to have other games going forwards here. So we'll be able to test that out early on without missing an actual Canucks game.
Yeah, and this should be noted too that this is now, I think, all 4 of the major sports Amazon's got some involvement in. Well, will be starting next basketball season, not this upcoming one, but they've got obviously a race package with the NBA coming up. They've got Thursday night football. They've got they do Yankees games on Prime as well. That's a local rights deal that they share games with the Yes Network. I think use the Yes Network production, but there are some that are available only on Prime Video for Yankees fans, and now hockey. So it's expanding. It makes you wonder where 5 years from now, what else Amazon might be involved in.
Well, or even the next big Canadian rights being up in 2 years. Who knows how big Amazon might make a power play to try and edge out even a TSN in that sort of scenario.
Yeah, that's very strong comment. Probably a good chance of maybe 3 packages, but then what does that do to the local rights deals, which mean a lot to certain teams, including the Canucks? I think they got a pretty lucrative deal with Sportsnet Pacific, and so that'll be very fascinating to see. And also, if I'm not mistaken, the current CBA expires with the expiration of the Canadian rights deals. So there's a lot on the line with that negotiation. But that's on the road.
Yeah, and then I believe Amazon just announced that they're having a few NASCAR races on Prime.
There you go.
As of next year as well.
Yeah.
So they're definitely expanding. You have MLS on Apple TV. WWE is going to Netflix as of January as well.
Yeah.
WWE Raw is going there, so that you're gonna see more the transition over from terrestrial TV to streaming for sports is starting.
Streaming is coming, folks. Get used to it.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, it's been great to see you. Sorry that I had to duck out there for a minute because my computer hates me.
It's okay. Mine froze up too. So
Yeah. Well, have all the
Apparently,
bugs
I was the
worked out
only one
for
who
you.
didn't piss off the internet gods.
Oh, and you're so smug about it too. Rub it in some more.
But yeah, all right. So we are back with Tyler now. We will have Kevin on at some point. Tomorrow,
Yes.
Kevin is doing a podcast with the that's doing good job here, Sean. Beard. Yeah, the sports beard. He's going is going to join Kevin to preview the Metropolitan Division, and then we'll be back sometime next week as well. I think Kevin's lined up someone to join us to do a Pacific Division preview at some point here. We're a week and a half out from the start of the regular season. Actually, probably close to a week for the actual NHL because they've got the European games starting next Friday, I believe. And then Canucks starting in a week and a half at home versus Calgary. So,
Yes.
as you said, Tyler, butterflies in the stomach. Hockey is starting up again.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's great. I enjoyed summer. By the way, Tyler, next year you have to come join us in Penticton.
Yes, we need to get a big crew out for Young Stars.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun, and I have some other friends in that area too that I'd like to see. So it makes a lot of sense.
It's so much fun. So
might have to get another round of golf together with all of you too at that time.
Oh, totally. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Maybe we'll get Devin out for that. Yeah. But how do we follow everyone?
I'm on x.com at tnoble, T-N-O-B-L-E.
I'm on all the social medias at Schneidz, SCHNEIDZ.
I'm going to borrow the Brendan Batchelor way of referencing the app. The app formerly known as Twitter. I am BeardyConnect03. You can follow us on there, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch at Shifts and Pucks. As I said, tomorrow Kevin will be with the Sports Beer to preview the Metropolitan Division. We'll be back next week to talk more Canucks, probably do it, and as well as do a Pacific Division preview. Kevin will probably have a couple is going to be trying to line up a couple more guests to preview the other divisions. And we will see you next time. Bye for now.